this is JJ, and right now what I want to do is just cover some very basic things on how to read a map. And this will be a series that'll get more in depth as we go, and it'll basically be geared towards land navigation on foot and using a 1 to 24,000 scale map or a 7.5 minute series map. So in the top right corner, generally you're going to have the title of the map, which as you can see right here is the YBO Canyon Quadrangle. And then you'll also see some numbers in each corner, and those numbers are going to be your longitude line will be on top, and then your latitude lines or latitude coordinates will be on bottom here. And the longitude lines, for those that don't know, are the lines on the outside edges of the map, the far right and the far left, also called the neat line, and they run north and south. And then the latitude lines are the top and bottom lines, and they run east and west. Okay, and then if we scoot down on the map here, we'll get down to the legend area, and in the legend there's really a lot of important information in the legend that you need to be aware of. And the first one is going to be how you define the different roads and what those look like on the map. So the reason that's important is if you're lost or something like that and you want to try to find civilization, you want to try to make your way towards these more primary roads as opposed to the light duty or unimproved roads. It just kind of helps you to orient yourself as to where you need to go in order to be found. Now we also have some other information over here. The date of the map is good because that way you'll know when the last time any information on this map has been updated. And then you'll also get the quadrangle location. This is just showing you where in the state of Wyoming this little map is covering. And then you also have the adjoining quadrangles names. Now this can actually be kind of important, especially for those people who are going to take like long ATV rides, or you're covering a lot of ground in a truck or something along those lines, and you're going to go into different map zones. And the way that you can identify which of these map zones are is you just look over here to the corresponding name, and then you'll be able to look those up, download them, or purchase them or whatever when you go. This also kind of is important from a prepping aspect for those people who have a bug out location or something along those lines. Let's say that your bug out location is centered in the center quadrangle. You may want to go ahead and purchase each one of the ones around you, so that if you're going out on hunting trips or whatever the case may be, you'll have them, or even for tactical purposes if you needed to have them. It's just good to have maps of any of the areas that you're going to be operating in. So that's just something to think about there. Okay, if we scroll on over here a little bit, we will see our scale, and the scale obviously measures distance on the map, and you've got kilometers, meters, miles, and feet. And that's obviously important for whenever you're setting up and establishing your routes and where you're going to go from one point to another. You need to know how far it is so you can gauge about how long it will take, how many paces you would step, and all those kinds of things. The scale, again, is 1 to 24,000, and that scale is very typical for using for a hiking map. You can also use 1 to 50,000, but the much more common size scale is 1 to 24,000. Now down here you also have the contour interval as well as the map datum, and this is pretty much going to be labeled on all your maps. This is a mostly flat area. Usually your contour interval is 20 or 40 feet or something along those lines. And basically what that is, contour interval is essentially the distance between, so we have a small peak here, and that's an enclosed circle like that is a peak, and then the distance from this line down to this line is 10 feet. So that's what your contour interval is. And the reason that is important is also for route planning. When you get to the point where you're ready to start planning your routes, you want to take a look at the terrain that you're going to go on and make sure that you're not covering extreme elevation changes and that kind of thing, because it might be difficult for you to do. If I scroll up here, you can see in this area that the contour lines are all very, very, very close together. And what that is telling me is that you're going to have extreme changes in elevation. And this is essentially going to be like a cliff or a canyon, or something that's going to be very hard to navigate through. So that's kind of why you want to know what your contour interval is. Okay, if we scroll over here, this is probably one of the most important things in the legend of a map that you need to be aware of, and that is the magnetic north or magnetic declination diagram. And if you'll see right here, most maps will all have 3 lines on them, and that's going to be 3 different norths. So everybody pretty much knows what true north is. That is, the true north on our planet. Also happens to coincide and with the North Star within 1 degree all year round. But that is the same as the neat lines on the very far right and far left of the map. Your lines of longitude all are oriented towards true north. Now, you also have grid north. And grid north is the north that your grid lines, these center grid lines here, are what they are aligned to. And so let me change the view on the map here a little bit, and I want to kind of show you what I mean with this. Okay, with the difference between true north and grid north, this is what I was talking about. When you've got your far right line, that is a line of longitude, and that is true north. And then if you will take a look at this line, this is a grid line, you can see that as it comes down, it gets closer and closer and closer. And that is why you don't want to orient your map off of the grid lines unless the grid north is very close to the true north, because over a longer period of distance, that can throw your navigation off. So it's always best to line your map up for when you orient your map off of your far right or far left lines on the map, because those you are guaranteed are true north and true south. Okay, so that's what I was talking about with grid north. Then you've got magnetic north, and magnetic north is essentially where the compass is going to point to. Okay, the compass does not point to true north, it points to magnetic north, which is an area up in the north, kind of close to the Hudson Bay region, somewhere up in there. And so your magnetic variation is going to be different for every map. And what you need to do is you need to find out what the degrees of variation is, so that when you orient your map, you can subtract or add that to 0 on your compass scale, and basically make it so that you're oriented towards true north. And we'll do a different video on how to orient a map as well. But anyway, the main thing you need to know is like on this one, the magnetic variation is 11 degrees to the west, or excuse me, to the east. And again, that's north, this is south, this would be west, and this is east over here. So that is that. Okay, so that has pretty much been a look at the basic items in the legend of a map, and and how you need to read a map. Let me just show you real quick. A couple of items on contour lines and the different colors and what the different colors mean. So white areas like this are typically going to be just desert areas where there's not too much there at all. And let me switch to another map here real quick and show you some other areas. Okay, so this is a good example of another map that's got a lot of different colors on it. And as you saw in the other one, we have some kind of desert areas or bare areas that are usually delineated by white. Then you have wooded or heavy vegetation areas is typically going to be in green. Then you've got water that will be in blue, and usually gray is going to be industrial or residential type areas. And then you've got this little marshland here that also kind of denotes marshy areas, essentially. Go figure. So that is a kind of a look at different some of the different symbols. Then you've also, like this right here, this area, this would be power lines. And again, they kind of resemble power lines as well. And then you've got some major roadways here. This one also has some different hydrographic data in here, showing you the different depth variations, or areas that are exposed at low tide, like this right here. So you've got kind of a swampy area here, and then at low tide, this will all be exposed, essentially beach. And then you'll have, the low water settings here. So anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoy this video. This will be a first in a couple of different videos I want to do on navigation. Let me know how this works out for you, if you can see this okay, and all that kind of stuff in the comments below. And if you're interested in seeing more navigation videos. Thanks a bunch. I'll talk to you soon.